Hello and welcome back, guys. Today we are going to be discussing intelligent design versus evolution and the Big Bang Theory. So, I'm going to run through these things fairly quickly, basically because I don't want to discuss them so in depth that you would be able to, make a research paper out of it or you talk to a doctor or a professor about this. But what we're going to hit on is just some of the main features. Now, first, intelligent design is basically the proposition that God created everything for a reason, or a God, quote unquote, or things were created for a reason. It is pretty much akin to someone making something for a certain reason. That's a good question. So basically, what evolution is the basic concept that things adapt and survive. That's just very, very rough definition. So the adapting to survive and evolve, quote unquote, is fairly similar to Pokemon. As you get stronger, you evolve and you become something completely different. Evolutionists think we've evolved from apes, a missing link, quote unquote. That's the famous quote out there. And intelligence design is Adam and Eve. The Big Bang Theory goes along with how the world was created, and people who believe in the creationist theory is that the Big Bang Theory didn't happen or was instituted by God instead. So, my argument on this is basically that I believe intelligent design coincides with evolution. I believe that things were created for a reason and were able to adapt for a reason. Basically, with the ability to create and do things outside our instincts alone, that alone, I think, warrants intelligent design. Because basically, if you just look around and you think to yourself, how many animals out there are smart enough to disobey their primal instincts and create a society beyond tunnels and caves and things like that? Stemming from the Earth's first point of creation, I think everyone will agree that cars, buildings, and things of this nature were not here from the beginning days of the Earth. Since before 6000 BC, the Earth exists. I'm just throwing out numbers there, but you can sit there and look up how old it is. But you can understand that even when we were here, whether or not we evolved, that's not to be argued. The fact is, we didn't start off with the technology that we have today. So compared to every other animal out there, it's kind of hard to think to yourself that we are the only ones that randomly were selected for a higher intelligence to be able to do that. Even some of the smartest apes in the world can't do what we do. They just can't. They haven't been able to do it. They've been around for many, 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 many years, and they still haven't done what we've done. It's interesting to think about that for a moment. That doesn't necessarily prove that intelligent design exists, nor does it prove that evolution exists, but it's a fun fact to really think when you're thinking about this stuff. Now, basically, many people kind of argue that intelligent design can't be. God didn't create us because if he created us and then he created the disease and he created cancer and all this evil stuff. Well, firstly, I want to argue two things on that. One, the Garden of Eden existed, and because of Adam and Eve's one sin, out of the whole garden they weren't allowed to eat the apple, and the serpent said, "You will surely not die if you eat that apple." They ate the apple. They didn't die right off the bat, but they died eventually. So, because of their disobedience to God, we suffer. Now, you might say, well, that was just them, so why can't I get a chance? Well, basically, there have been many chances throughout the history for God's people to live prosperously and very well, I might add. If you just look through the first few books of the Bible, Genesis, Deuteronomy, things like that, you can see the records of the Israelites being let out by Moses and things like that. You can see how many times they disobey God, and they're seeing these miracles happen right before their eyes. They're seeing the sea part. They're seeing God lead them by day and night. They're seeing free food for them. It's ridiculous, and they still disobey him. So, when you sit there and say that, I can almost guarantee you that even if God gave us the same exact chance, we probably would make the same mistake, or at least some of us would. Now, the other thing I'd like to argue that is that when a person makes a pot, and he makes two pots, and which one is designated for the trash and which one is designated to hold a beautiful flower depends all on the creator. Which one is he going to use for which purpose? Both purposes are sufficient and need filling. So which one is going to become the garbage and which one is going to become the thing that hangs on the windowsill and looks very, very pretty? That's up to the creator. Now, would you argue with that creator and say, why did you use that pot for the garbage can instead of the flower? They're exactly the same. They hold the exact same amount of stuff, but basically, he chose that for that reason. Now, would you also argue with God for what he does? If he is indeed the one who created us, then he is indeed within his rights to do whatever he wishes with us. Now, some people might not accept that theory. Some people might not accept that conclusion. Some people might not even be able to accept that. Basically, because what I'm suggesting here is that life and our consciousness. I have a tough time pronouncing that. Excuse me. How about our free will? That's basically the same thing. Basically, please don't get on me about that. But our free will, it goes into the discussion, well, do we really have free will or do we not? And I'm not going to delve deep into there, but I believe our free will dictates our future. Whether or not it is predetermined, there could be a billion different predetermining factors for our free will. Like I said, I'm not getting into that, so we'll save that for another time. But basically, a lot of people can't accept that we were created by a God because the way we were created and what we were created for, they just don't want to accept it. They can't accept that the Bible is so basic in some departments, they want to make it advanced, like our salvation. All you have to do is accept Jesus into your heart and you're saved. But some people can't accept that it's that basic. Also, some people can't accept the more advanced parts, like the Trinity of God. God coming down, becoming a human and immortal, proving that he is better than man when he's immortal, and redeeming us. That's an advanced concept. People can't accept that. They want to make it much more basic. They want to just say there's God, Jesus wasn't God, and there is no Holy Ghost. So, creationism is very, very hard to prove with no concrete evidence. You can sit here and point out miracles all day long. You can sit here and point out how many dreams people have had in the past. You can say prophets have had visions and things that have happened in the past. But I got to tell you, when you look back to the past where we were in the 1800s and the 1900s compared to where we are today, you can see that creationism has really helped us out greatly, and the way we evolve along with that creationism, it's just helped a lot. Now, a lot of people like to argue that if we created certain species and certain species were created for us, why did they go extinct? And I really can't tell you that. I can't tell you why giants went extinct. I can't tell you why dinosaurs went extinct. I really can't answer these questions, and there is no concrete answer. It's not stated in the Bible. It's not stated in the pages of history. It's a good question on why they went extinct. We know how they went extinct, a giant meteor, the flood, things of that nature, but we don't know why God killed them. It's a good question. It's God. He created everything. He can do whatever he wants. And many people can't accept that the world to God is a giant chess game between him and Satan. I hate to put it in those contexts, and for the most part, it's really not like that, but basically that's the idea. Satan was banished to hell for his incompetence, his disobedience, and his arrogance, basically. And basically, as the right-hand man to God, he decided to try and usurp the power, deceiving one-third of hell's fury and taking one-third of the angels with him to become demons of hell's world. Hell was never made for us. It was never created for us. But because we don't listen to God, we get banished as well. And basically, creationism is God creating people for his own will. Many people say, well, why would a lonely God create people? That's pretty pathetic to make something for people to worship him. But it's whatever. mostly, I believe in creationism, and I think many people can get behind me on what I said.